Hello, beautiful souls made of love and light. Welcome to another session dedicated to prayer and much more. As usual, these are concepts taken from the Ascension glossary pages. This time, we bring to you a super journey filled with some new concepts and some old concepts that come together to help us all ascending into ever harmonic waves or even universes of orgasmic sensory pleasure. We will start with creating our safe space and activate that beautiful 12D shield as we prepare to enter this magical connection with our higher self, guides, and our families of light, Mother Earth, and the universal central sun to assist us in fulfilling this magical journey into much more than just prayer. After the prayer, we will go into a deep meditation journey created to unlock more of your double diamond sun potential inside you. It will be a long journey, and like always, take only what resonates with you. Let go of what doesn't resonate with you. You don't need to take notes. The basics are all inside the Ascension glossary pages, and the last part of the journey comes from the energetic synthesis web page. This last part, I can read the title of Ascension Class 1. Doesn't mean it is for starters on these new concepts and knowledge. It means it is again old, very old, a 2007 transcript of an Ascension Class imparted by Lisa Renee. It will be her view of the Ascension Process, one view that I love very much. It's filled with truth, and maybe for some of you will be too much to take. I just say to that, please look around yourself as you listen these old words that again are serving to guide many in their ascension process today. I am one of those beautiful souls like you that is receiving these teachings. For me, it is like revisiting an old part of myself from a new lens. In 2007, I didn't knew about the Krystal spiral, nor the freedom teachings, nor about Lisa Renee. I also never read this class before, making it also a class for me in which I need to put my attention into it, not just to deliver to you this session, but to retrieve the light codes packed in it that I need now for my optimization and ascension, in order and priority, as God would have it be. In 2007, I was dealing big time with the law of time teachings, that parts of them derive from Maya teachings of time and energy factors and concepts of creation that we can today use to build our heaven on earth, which seems to me that we need it more than ever, because the Sodak is delivering their best actions to assure domination and control over us all. We are on a perfect time window in which the axis of the Earth is aligned with higher frequency potentials, and it will be like this until the 23rd of August. Until that date, I suggest that you surrender to your higher self and commit truly to be of service to the law of one that states, "You shall not harm any sentient kind." That's easy. Today I see it easier than ever because I know that deep inside, human beings do not like war nor to fight to get what they want. Personal merits and personal integrity come from hard work, and hard work can be merely every day to have a clear, loving kindness thought to yourself and others around you who want you down and in fear of what may happen today when the system just collapses and money isn't a part of the game anymore. Oh yeah, baby. From this point forward, I will be making the best to disable all, and I mean all factions of the Sodak with love and yes, understanding that they too have an agenda like I have an agenda of the betterment and to restore what the Sodak destroys. So right now, the Sodak Association or Negative Corporation must also to understand that their time is over. It has been more than 26,000 years of being trapped into false memories, bodies, and there is a lot we have taken because many of us have been here before. Some of us many times, others a few times. And we all have waited for this moment to come for a long time and space. And I don't know about you, but this is the way I have to make real solid my declaration of intention. State it out loud, please. What a beautiful way to start this beautiful journey from the inside of my mystical cave that can be found inside that mountain that exists on an island out of time and space as we know it. Draco is here. Draco is here, listening to my thoughts as I write these words. It shows this sweet smile, but also there is this feeling of attention. Be mindful, little one, this says telepathically. Now is the time when all our dreams come true. Are you ready for this huge endeavor? With Draco by my side, feeling this warmth, I close my eyes and focus in the stillness that exists inside myself. Feeling the connection with Draco, I create a small spiritual court of equity as I summon my guides through the agreement and request for intercession. Dear ones, I'll see you on the other side. As the 12th Avatar and the light of God that I am, I cancel all contracts and or agreements that I have made with any entity, guide, or system of domination and control. In this timeline or in any reality that were not in my highest alignment and expression of my light source, in the cosmic sovereign law of one. Therefore, I terminate all false matrices or illusions that may have obscured my highest soul purpose and soul mission in the past, present, and future timelines. I terminate redemptive vehicle and crucifixion contracts and their related phantom systems from impacting my consciousness and all of my 12 bodies. I further declare that the cancellation of all such contracts is to be irrevocable and permanent in all time frames and realities. I choose my perfection to stand in the light and represent my full sovereignty and freedom for all human beings on this planet. I receive this gift now, as I will share this gift with all. All is one with the light. I am unity, beloved God. Thank you. Now everybody, state it out loud, please. I, Rafael José Lopes Ferreira, choose fully the authority of God's laws and that which serves the light of truth. I commit to my healing and request guardian intercession on my behalf to restore the correct proportions of my manifestation body to the eternal, perpetual supply of the God Source. I am God, I am sovereign, and I am free. I promise to fully participate in my relationship to healing my body and commit to the processes set forth in partnership with God Source and Guardian Alignment through the Krystal Aegis sponsorship. I state my intention of self-sovereignty through the Unity Vow as a handshake which allows God Source and its Krystal Guardians to surround and protect me. Now please, quick connect to the 12D shield. From inside your 12D shield, again, state it out loud please, the group Unity Vow Decree. Defender, Warriors of Truth, Sovereignty, Liberation, Guardian Races serving the One. From across all the multiverse, I call upon you to join me now. My unification principle is demonstrated in the waves of Omni Love. I sound my heart note to you now. My template updated, individually and collectively renewed, and forever perpetuated in the eternally sustained light. My body and being is consecrated and dedicated to the purpose of One, and I endeavor to be the knower of God, to then be the way shower of God. Please sustain me in the eternal power of my original God consecration. State it out loud, please. Let all of your body reverberate, and all of your cells listen to your voice as you say these words. I have asked for intervention in order to hold my highest purposes in the service to the One Light, the Living Light Code. My intention is unification, the cosmic Christ principle as an energetic reality, here and now. I request this handshake to fortify my spiritual links through the universal cosmic Triad and into the core of One, the 0 point God matrix, that which is the source of my genesis. It is with deep reverence for all of life, dear God, that I ask you to breathe your life codes into my created form. I set my intention now to remember what I am. Fully, completely, and totally. I am ready to go beyond the fear and shadow to fulfill God's plan on earth and beyond. I state my mutual purpose as one. Please resurrect my body and being into the organic patterns of the one organic, living light now. And to that we say, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is, lovingly decreed. Whoa, babies. You beautiful souls made of love and light, now we are ready to take magic flight. This time, I sit inside a cave closer to the threefold flame fire of creation. And in my heart, an emanation of peace comes about, growing and expanding with each breath I take. We enter deeper, Draco and I, into union and communion with unity consciousness expansion and evolution. As we breathe in from inside that cave out of time, we send a consciousness beam across the multidimensional plane, reaching the core of the earth. We then ask permission to Mother Earth in order to deliver these crystal clear freedom codes to the ones needing this dispensation in these times of now for their betterment and restoration accordingly to their original Christ angelic human blueprint, and the possibility to awaken to their heroic probability of ascending into another harmonic universe. Higher frequency universe, less dense and more peaceful than the last one we just left behind. A place where we can co-create ever-evolved biological forms of immense splendor and beauty. North, south, east, west, and in the earth, sky, and into my heart, I ask to direct the four corners to be sealed in the light of unity and wholeness. I am impenetrable and invincible. I ask the crystal guardian forces to anchor this space sacred in the service to the loved one of which I serve. Now that the connection was established, we breathe in the living light permission codes of Mother Earth to connect to her diamond heart crystal star octahedron of perfection. As we breathe in and out, we bathe ourselves entirely in this magical presence of the heart-based love of Mother Earth. Now the three of us are one, and so it is that this meditation begins. Honestly, I just pray that nothing gets lost in translation. As we breathe in and out, we stay connected to our natural rhythm of breathing. Do not force any breath. Breathe in and out softly, filling your entire body, saturated by the 12D pale white silver light of your 12D shield. Mother Earth 12D shield and the universal central sun. 12. The shield. Thank you very much for being there, dear ones. Keep breathing your doubled diamond sun plasmas of perfection as we go deep into Ascension meditation. I call upon my group Avatar Christ, the Guardians and Aurora races aligned to the law of one mission to work together for the highest capacity of exchange of God's infinite light, love, and power in divine right order and harmony. In this day dedicated to Lion's Gate 8823. Now I ask my Christus avatar to return all codes, the fire letters and the jewels, the wings, energies, and parts of bodies that have been misdirected, and return them now to the rightful owner in the name of self-sovereignty, higher instated and commanded into presence now. We invalidate the beings by commanding a full dissolution and dissolve them into the one source, God's source light, through the eternal love of forgiveness and forgetfulness. Completely heal and seal the personal auric field from any further intrusion. Please return all energies and essences that were in divine right order now. I call back now all that is myself sovereign, God power and right. I call in my personal genetic technicians and ascension teams to support me in fulfilling this command. I ask now, God Force and Guardians, higher self councils, to administer the core soul protection package to the multidimensional identities, ancestral identities, and those attached, seeking the release of this dispensation at this moment of self, fully, completely, and totally, through all parallel realities and existences. Through the order of Mother Ark, open the portal to establish the passage, to escort all ancestral identities, all fragments, to their proper time and space vector, cleansed in the cosmic Christus light source. In the 0-point field and unity consciousness, I command my presence of perfection in one source light. Cleanse all of the ancestral or miasmatic record through my human holographic record, through my families of origin, and throughout the planetary interface records of cellular memory. Reinstate my divine blueprint record to all layers of my family of origin to be unified in the truth vibration, liberated sovereign, and free now. I request the complete removal of all lower formed energies or misqualified vibrations from my individual and group identities present. Terminate and remove all imbalanced matrices, devices, or structures all at once. Transmute all manipulation energies into neutral association through the 0 point. Again, stated out loud. As the 12D avatar and the light of God that I am, I cancel all contracts and agreements I have made with any entity, guide, or system of domination and control in this timeline or in any reality that were not in my highest alignment and expression of my light source in the cosmic sovereign law of one. I terminate all false matrices or illusions that may have obscured my highest soul purpose and soul mission in the past, present, and future timelines. Therefore, I terminate redemptive vehicle and crucifixion contracts and their related phantom systems from impacting my consciousness and all of my 12 bodies. I further declare that the cancellation of all such contracts is to be irrevocable and permanent in all time frames and realities. I choose my perfection to stand in the light and represent my full sovereignty and freedom for all human beings on this planet. I receive this gift now, as I will share this gift with all, because all is one with the light. I am unity, beloved God. Thank you. So after the prayer, we enter into deep meditation. Keep breathing in and out. With each breath in, feel the light coming in, saturating your entire body. And as you breathe out, radiate in 360 degrees, affecting all the realities around you. Breathe in and out, and if you need some water, take water, because water is life. Keep breathing in and out at your own pace. Go slowly, go softly, love yourselves, because we are about to enter in a beautiful and magical journey. I always say it, and is the truth. Thank you for being there. Without you, this would not be possible. Thank you for helping me realize my great work Thank you, and remember that you are the love. Remember, take only what resonates with you. Let go of what doesn't resonate with you. Focus in your breathing. Because this is horizontal, triad, bodies, and much more. Let's look at horizontal, triad, bodies. There are 12 spherical intelligences that make up the 5 horizontal triad grids or over-body shields that holds the morphogenetic field or blueprint instruction set for sets of 3 mental bodies or the stations of identity positioned throughout the harmonic universes. The horizontal shield function as the male principle of the mental body for all of the consciousness bodies that have stations of identity on timelines throughout the harmonic universes. When the 5 shields built upon these dimensional triads are integrated into the consciousness and light body layers, the higher spiritual masculine rod function of the light body is activated. This activation sequence of the higher intelligence mental bodies that connect into the dimensions they are built upon. See the 12 tree grid, which is level 1 of the light body. Next we have horizontal shields map. There are 5 horizontal triad grids that hold the morphogenetic field or blueprint for the mental bodies that form stations of identity in each of the harmonic universes. Each triad body forms into a personal shield that builds the horizontal structure of the auric field levels of the 12 tree grid and is the construct for holding the mental bodies and masculine principle. Let's look at radial bodies. Are spheres that form a tissue around all layers of our horizontal triad bodies. The radial bodies work similarly as the projection screen that creates our moving hologram and determines the quality of life we experience. The radial body receives through the Merkaba circulation of spiral energies held in the shield system, which hold the instructions in the personal blueprint and DNA of the individual's 12 tree grid. Let's look at the 5 shields. 1. Top shield, diagonal 45 degrees from left to lower right. 9D silver sphere, 8D gold sphere, 7D violet sphere equals one trinitized form of one horizontal body or etheric shield. 2. Mid shield, diagonal 45 degrees from left to lower right. 6D indigo sphere, 5D blue sphere, 4D green sphere equals one trinitized form of one horizontal body or Doradic shield. 3. Lower shield, right angle, 90 degrees, facing left. 3D yellow sphere, 2D orange sphere, 1D red sphere equals one trinitized form of one horizontal body or telluric shield. 4. Base shield, right angle, 90 degrees, facing right. 12D white sphere, 11D dark silver sphere, 10D sapphire sphere equals trinitized form of one horizontal body or Maharata shield. 5. Top 12D shield or Ra shield, central spherical point, not illustrated. 8D gold, 14D pale gold equals golden fleece, horizontal body connected to solar Rishi, Rishik shield. And these are the 5 horizontal triad bodies. Let's look at core manifestation body. The core manifestation body foundation, the structure of the macrocosmic universal tree of life, is replicated within the microcosmic personal tree of life. Individual human anatomy manifests upon and within the multidimensional layers instructed by the core manifestation template, the tree of life. Every aspect of the universal creation and life spirals are designed and instructed through these blueprint structures. Learning to travel consciously through the tree of life is the pathway to personal sovereignty and freedom. Intelligence bodies create the blueprint, morphogenetic field of all creation. It is a base 12 template and culminates in the Krystal star body with cosmic Christ intelligence. 13, 14, and 15 are the threefold founder flame rays, Mother, Father, Son. See the cosmology of dimensions in our universal time matrix. 12-tree body grid. First aspects, there are 2. Let's see aspect number 1. 12 spheres, 12 rays, 12 dimensions, 12 timelines, 24 potential, 12 DNA strands, 12 based on harmonic structure, 144 sub-harmonics of the cosmic Christ frequency in the 12D. Now, second aspect. 12D spherical, 5 horizontal grids that hold the morphogenetic fields for the mental body's identities. Each triad body builds the horizontal structure of the tree and the mental body male principle. So, the 12-dimensional tree, it's like a homing pigeon that we can attract or magnetize the parts of our spiritual body energies, identities that need to be returned back to the rightful owner, back into original eternal God embodiment throughout this universe. The 12th dimensional tree is a process of a spiritual body integration sequence that will, at some point, be overridden by the Krystal host, as the double diamond sun body exists in a different configuration pattern. However, the 12D shield configuration is what allows us to phone home to our family of Christ here in 3D matter timelines. And this is why it is so important. Now, let's look at soul, triad, body, sensory, ability. 6D, indigo sphere. 5D, blue sphere. 4D, green sphere, equals one trinitized form of one horizontal body or doradic shield. So when the bodies are integrated and merged horizontally, the mental aspects of the Trinity wave activate new sensory body functions. When these bodies unify, cellular telepathy and the ability to read energy signatures transpires. The ability to transmute energy and potential senses begin for transfiguration and transmigration. The Doradic shield holds the 4D, 5D, 6D layers of DNA and its exiotonal lines, chakras, and seed crystals that form the three mental bodies in the second harmonic universe: 4D astral, 5D archetypal, and 6D celestial mind. Through soul integration, we will integrate the three layers of these stations of identity in order to build the personal Doradic shield and progress through our consciousness evolution. Monad, triad, body, sensory, ability. 9D silver sphere, 8D gold sphere, 7D violet sphere equals one trinitized form of one horizontal body or etheric shield. When the bodies are integrated and merged horizontally, the mental aspects of the Trinity wave activate new sensory body functions. This begins shape-shifting abilities, which is the process of molecular transmutation and the ability to project one's consciousness in other dimensions and spaces. Avatar, triad, body, sensory, ability. 12D white sphere, 11D dark silver sphere, 10D sapphire sphere equals one trinitized form of one horizontal body or Maharata shield or 12D shield. When the bodies are integrated and merged horizontally, the mental aspects of the Trinity wave activate new sensory body functions. Bilocation of consciousness into multiple holographic forms, multiple projection of one's consciousness directs aurora body. Now let's look at spherical energy domains or horizontal triad bodies. When we incarnate into a three-dimensional electromagnetic domain, we are imprinted with the holographic template of the complete universal tree of life. And all of these 5 harmonic universe layers direct the instructions for our consciousness life stream that is experiencing time and space. The 5 levels of the harmonic universes govern the spin rates for all of the Merkaba fields, which transmit electromagnetic currents that are based upon the architectural laws and frequency characteristics that exist within each system. As an example, the spin rate of the planetary Merkaba fields govern the birth, evolution, and death cycles of the entire planetary species. The horizontal triad bodies are made up of triad fields, the antimatter consciousness units from the highest harmonic universe, which allows the individuated consciousness to make the energetic connections to the primal light source that occurs beyond or outside of the time matrix. The corridors leading into the God worlds are also referred to as the central point of all union. These are the transmigration levels and home domain of the true ascended masters and, this is really important, cosmic citizens we all are. The interconnected collective layers of all of the 5 horizontal triad bodies, which includes all spherical energy domains, is called the radial body. These are multidimensional radiation identity spheres that encompass and protect the horizontal triad bodies. The radial body controls all of the internal spherical energy domains, which further governs the holographic projection in the timelines that the individual consciousness experiences while incarnated in the harmonic universes. The Merkaba field circulation of the instruction sets that pass into the personal Krystal shield and then into the individual's DNA template are what inform the radial body about the specific design for the actual holographic manifestation that is being experienced in time. So, radial bodies are spheres that form a tissue around all layers of our horizontal triad bodies. The radial bodies work similarly as the projection screen that creates our moving hologram and determines the quality of the life we experience. So the radial body receives through the Merkaba circulation of spiral energies the instructions held in the blueprint and DNA of the 12-tree grid. The radial body has the umbilicus that connects your entire monadic and consciousness family, all the way into your biology, called the radial cord. About the radial body, most are unaware that the extensive connective tissue of the fascia network is the manifestation of the pre-matter instruction set of tissue capsules and complex crystalline webbing that make up the multidimensional identity sphere's energetic structure of the radial body. Within the spiritual anatomy of the human light body, there are extremely refined layers of tissue capsules that act as an energetic skin which holds together the 5 spherical layers of the horizontal triad bodies that are collectively referred to as the radial body. The 5 horizontal triad grids are spherical energy domains that hold the morphogenetic field for the mental bodies and the stations of identity in time. Each formation of the energy sphere is in a triad body shield builds a layer in the horizontal structure of the 12-tree grid and is directly connected to the mental body and the masculine principle that builds the internal rod configuration. The radial body holds spheres within spheres that form tissue capsules or membranes around all layers of our horizontal triad bodies, which are structural shields that act similar to the load-bearing beams and flooring to our inner spiritual dwelling. All living forms have a radial body that surrounds each spherical domain in each density level and that runs life force currents through an instruction set within the blueprint of the light body for every biological being. For every biological being, this forms into the spherical skin-like capsule that surrounds our entire physically manifested body. The radial body is comprised of all of the 5 horizontal triad bodies that form into 3 layered spheres or structural shields. The horizontal shields are the organizational templates that instruct the consciousness in the body and its multidimensional life force currents, directing the configuration in which to bend the light and sound waves in order to create the entirety of the dimensional layered hologram. Each horizontal shield governs the function of that particular dimensional layer in time and space and connects directly to the spiritual embodiment process, which further controls the mechanism of the Merkaba spirals in each spherical domain. When the horizontal bodies unite within a trinity field, then 2 layers of the shields in each spherical domain activate, aligning the tissue capsules, and these bodies merge, which is intrinsic to the spiritual body integration process and ascension alignment to facilitate embodiment of the higher consciousness identities. The radial body receives the main instruction set for its physical matter form and manifestation hologram from the avatar crest shield network and the DNA template from the personal 12-tree grid. As the multidimensional life force currents move through the meridian lines and into each of the 5 spherical horizontal layers that make up the radial body, the consciousness projects the blueprint which externalizes the holographic projection within the tissue capsules of the horizontal triad bodies that form into the collective radial body. Similar to the nadis structure, there exists extremely refined energy rivulets called the radis. Radis. These energetic rivulets act as the modulator of life force currents moving between the unmanifested and manifested realms that run into the energy circulation systems of the Merkaba fields that deliver the instruction sets throughout the body. The radis is responsible for converting primal light and sound field and sound life force currents into electromagnetic units that are ionic for generating a vast array of chemical interactions for biological ionization. Attention please. An ion is an atom or molecule that has a net electrical charge with extra electrons or missing electrons. Thus, the primal life force currents generate ionic fields that generate the spectrum of frequency waves and plasmas, which are the foundation of electromagnetism in the lower harmonic universes. The radial body works much like the projection screen that creates our moving hologram and determines the quality of the life we experience in the present moment. In this way, we could consider the radial body as our consciousness filter or lens through which our consciousness may perceive multidimensional reality or eternal time. The radial body structures are what facilitate the birth transduction sequence for multidimensional consciousness to experience physical matter while in a light body holographic template. Again, pay attention. It is in the 0 point, the past to future pulse intersection that exists in eternal time and in the present moment, which intersects and communicates directly with the entire radial body, while in the now presence of compassionate witnessing. It is the radial body that projects your consciousness out of time while holding in the 0 point. This is beautiful. The radial body receives information through the Merkaba circulation of spiral energies within the instructions held in the personal blueprint and DNA of the 12-tree grid to form the vehicles that consciousness embodies. During the Ascension process, when 2 or more horizontal bodies merge in the radial body, this activation creates a dimensionalized level of a Merkaba vehicle. When the Merkaba vehicle is generated, the lower dimensional structures of the horizontal body template in the radial body dissolves, expanding into the next harmonic universe level, and then forming into new transharmonic ascension templates within the Merkaba vehicle. A transharmonic Merkaba vehicle is a pre-light and sound Triad field, in which the consciousness, the spiritual body, can transport itself through thought projection to a chosen specific location throughout time or out of time. This advanced consciousness ability of the Diamond Sun Matrix Merkaba vehicle has been attempted to be replicated through alien machinery with partial success and great destruction to the organic time matrix, and is known to some as the looking glass technology, developed by primarily Zeta groups from Orion. It seems that what comes next is really important to some degree, at least for me. So, in this point, I think we all need to look into ourselves because we have reached 1 hour, 1 minute, and 1 second. Whoa! Almost there. So it's 11. Oh, see? Time. Oh, time. Time keeps passing by. And I wish that you keep the attention and the focus in what is being said in these beautiful words. Keep on breathing. I am going for some water. You keep on breathing. Go for some water. You can also go to the bathroom. That is really nice. If you really need to. So I am pausing a little bit for water and breathe. Yes, because, like I said, it seems that what comes next is really important to some degree, at least for me. So, as we come back, let us recap. Horizontal triad bodies, the interconnected collective layers of all of the 5 horizontal triad bodies, which includes all spherical energy domains, is called the radial body. These are multidimensional radiation identity spheres that encompass and protect the horizontal triad bodies. The radial holographic. The radial body controls all of the internal spherical energy domains, which further governs the holographic projection in the timelines that the individual consciousness experiences while incarnated in the harmonic universes. The Merkaba field circulation of the instruction sets that pass into the personal Krystal shield and then into the individual's DNA template are what inform the radial body about the specific design for the actual holographic manifestations that is being experienced in time. So, in this point, I'd like to bring about the idea of music and that you just be there, peaceful, with attention. If you want to take notes, it's okay. Because this will be a long journey. And I, again, like to thank you very much to the ones that got this far. Yes, thank you very much for being there. And like I said before, if there is at least one person that was capable to get this far, I will continue to do this type of works, which, believe me, it requires a lot of dedication. But as you see in my voice, I do it with so much pleasure that I don't get tired. So let's keep on with the music and the meditation process. Yes, it will be more peaceful now. Don't fall asleep. We have reached folding identities into radial body. The eucharistic light body activation begins a methodical process of depolarization within each of the centers of the spherical domains that make up the horizontal shields of the three mental body identities that are held within the Hova bodies. This process of depolarization of the energy field begins in the ego personality, then moves into soul, monadic, avatar, and rishik selves. Each density of the stations of identity will integrate and unify into the light body via fully dissolving itself into the outer membrane of the ascending identity radial body, which then forms into the next stage of development in the plasma luminary body. Spherical energy domains. On the macrocosmic scale of the universal time matrix, within the center of a Merkaba field is a shield or spherical energy domain in which the process of individuation occurs within a holographic template form manifestation. In the exact center point, this sphere of energy exists in the center of the Merkaba field, in which the blueprint of that form is held to project that consciousness into matter. So the individual consciousness experiences a three-dimensional time and space. Each harmonic universe is comprised of three spherical energy domains that are nested within each other and surrounded by a frequency barrier, at the center of which exists the electromagnetic mathematical program that projects a hologram in three dimensions of time. Within the universal time matrix, there are 5 nested harmonic universes, each with 3 shields or 3 spherical energy domains. Each subset of the 3 make up the dimensional spaces that exist within that particular 3-dimensional spectrum of frequencies, or the electromagnetic domain in that harmonic universe. As an example, the first harmonic universe is where we have incarnated in this evolution cycle here on Earth. This is made up of 3 layers of dimensional spectrums of frequency in 1D, 2D, and 3D that make up the 3 spherical energy domains and the personality matrix and the physical plane of matter. During the ascension cycle, the planetary body is transitioning into the next 3 layers of dimensional spectrum that exist in the 4D, 5D, and 6D layers that make up the next three spherical energy domains, which include the entire soul matrix, and this is located in the second harmonic universe. Honestly, there is something here waiting to be unveiled. When we incarnate into a three-dimensional electromagnetic domain, we are imprinted with the holographic template of the complete universal tree of life. And all of these 5 harmonic universe layers direct the instructions for our consciousness live stream that is experiencing time and space. The 5 levels of the harmonic universes govern the spin rates for all of the Merkaba fields which transmit electromagnetic currents that are based upon the architectural laws and frequency characteristics that exist within each system. As an example, the spin rate of the planetary Merkaba fields govern the birth, evolution, and death cycles of the entire planetary species. As we are made aware from the Guardian Host context, alien machinery was installed into the planetary body for the main purpose of controlling these Merkaba spin rates and thus genetically modifying and controlling the direction of the collective consciousness stream of the planetary inhabitants. Thus, each individual receives the life force current, consciousness level, matter form, and the holographic projection experience from their light body DNA template, and the connections it has made with the Merkaba spirals that transmit from within these 5 harmonic universes. This is required to align the Merkaba fields to corrected positions that facilitated planetary ascension, as well as the continued biological spiritual expansion of the planetary inhabitants. In the dark cycle, following the Luciferian rebellion, the planetary architecture in the lower harmonic universe was blocked from interacting and receiving organic energy transmissions from the higher harmonic universes. As a result, planetary ascension and full biological ascension in a silicate matrix 12-strand template was not made possible. All of this changed in the 2012 and beyond Ascension timeline, and now these energetic connections exist between the personal light body, which is the microcosmic Merkaba field, and the macrocosmic Merkaba fields that are transmitting vast amount of ray currents from the planetary, galactic, and universal levels. The macrocosmic ray currents are transmitted through the electromagnetic domains to be received into the microcosmic radiation bodies, or the radial body of the individuated consciousness forms that exist in the lower harmonic universes. For many people on the Earth, their light body has been damaged or blocked with trauma, so these macrocosmic energy connections are disconnected from these 5 layers that make up the radial body, and the light body is unable to run the life force currents properly throughout their bodily systems. In order to expand the life force current beyond the control mechanism of the base 10 artificial Merkaba fields on the planet Earth, and begin to repair the metrotronic reversal fields and miasmas the individual will need to intend to spiritually develop towards removing alien machinery and false identities and begin running the dry wave current of the Krystal shield. The Krystal blueprint is a base 12 holographic template that continually expands to circulate the life force currents that exists from the God source fields all the way into the lowest harmonic universe. These Trinity wave forces restring the subharmonics through every electromagnetic domain that holds the original divine human template of the entire 12-stranded DNA. The Krystal imprint begins to circulate and expand the radial body layers of the higher frequency life force currents into the DNA RNA from the axiom lines, which send it directly into the personal spherical energy domain, running current into the horizontal triad bodies. Each spherical energy domain is a template for the horizontal triad body that corresponds to 3 grouped DNA strands that are connected to the electromagnetic domain of that particular harmonic universe. The activation of the Merkaba fields in each of the harmonic universes relates to one set of the 3 DNA strands, which corresponds to the triad of the spiritual bodies, the soul, monad, avatar, and rishik consciousness levels. The horizontal triad bodies are made up of triune fields, the antimatter consciousness units from the highest harmonic universe, which allows the individuated consciousness to make the energetic connections to the primal light source that occurs beyond or outside of the time matrix. The corridors leading into the God worlds are also referred to as the center point of all union. These are the transmigration levels and home domain of the true ascended masters and cosmic citizens. Aren't we all cosmic citizens? So, the interconnected collective layers of all of the 5 horizontal triad bodies, which includes all spherical energy domains, is called the radial body. These are multidimensional radiation identity spheres that encompass and protect the horizontal triad bodies. The radial body controls all of the internal spherical energy domains, which further governs the holographic projection in the timelines that the individual consciousness experience while incarnated in the harmonic universes. So the Merkaba field circulation of the instruction sets that pass into the personal Krystal shield and then into the individual's DNA templates are what inform the radial body about the specific design for the actual holographic manifestation that is being experienced in time. Most are unaware that the extensive connective tissue of the fascia network is the manifestation of the pre-matter instruction set of tissue capsules and complex crystalline webbing that make up the multidimensional identity sphere's energetic structure of the radial body. Within the spiritual anatomy of the human light body, there are extremely refined layers of the tissue capsules that act as an energetic skin which holds together the 5 spherical layers of the horizontal triad bodies that are collectively referred to as the radial body. The 5 horizontal triad grids are spherical energy domains that hold the morphogenetic field for the mental bodies and the stations of identity in time. Each formation of the energy sphere is a triad body shield, builds a layer in the horizontal structure of the 12th tree grid, and is directly connected to the mental body and the masculine principle that builds the internal rod configuration. The radial body holds spheres within spheres that form tissue capsules or membranes around all layers of our horizontal triad bodies, which are structural shields that act similar to load-bearing beams and flooring to our inner spiritual dwelling. And now we have something new: dissolving chakra membrane. So, I think that some of us have noted for many years now that our lower energy centers were shifting. Through the reconfiguration of these lower energy centers, known as the first chakra, second chakra, and third chakra, or 1D, 2D, 3-dimensional chakras, we could feel their color wave spectrum changing frequency. Some perceive this as embodying higher dimensional chakras with different frequency colors. This usually begins with aurora coloring, perceiving the re-encryption process in the lower body, which is making repairs to the etheric double and lower energy center functioning. The root or perineum area for many starseed people is no longer red, but changes to lighter hues of violet, pink, and once rolled up to the higher energy centers, it becomes shades of blue, green, or light pastels. When we have embodied this frequency change, we do not have survival fears anymore. We can clearly see when the false king of tyranny from the red wave spectrum is manipulating victim archetypes in the public to incite fear. This frequency elevation process has been happening for quite some time. However, it is not happening progressively to more people. It is now happening progressively to more people. I'm sorry about that. The lower chakras used to be etheric cones that were non-physical membranes located in the top layer of our light body. The main energy centers are still present, yet are being elevated to run vital forces throughout our lower body glands, organs, and meridians. The chakra cones will eventually become absorbed into the higher consciousness aspects of the body and reconfigured completely. The best way to understand this is that chakras are an aspect of consciousness that run a type of software that is directed from a template held inside a primary planetary body in the solar system. The lower chakras of humans have been severely abused through negative mind control, being directed to harm these chakras and their respective glands from functioning correctly. The chakra program was running overlays onto the endocrine glands instead of endocrine glands being free to function as they were designed. The lower aspects of consciousness related to these chakra programs are frequencies of survival, fear, instinctual drives, disconnection, sexual sexual and gender confusion, selfishness, STS, and material power. Much of these lower frequency programs are amplified from influences sourcing from the planets Saturn, Neptune, and Mars. When these lower aspects of consciousness programming are not present anymore, within our thoughts or state of being, they cease to exist. When we focus our being on spiritual service and the love of God, eventually these lower aspects of consciousness are dissolved into higher frequency. Our light body reconfigures itself to reflect the new higher frequencies that we have focused our attention upon, and the new consciousness system is built in the body to house the higher consciousness. A shift in consciousness creates a shift in the configuration of the energy field, and this always happens before there is visible change made in the physical body. All manifestation is from the state of consciousness directing itself through the energy field, light body, and then into the physical body. Each chakra wheel is responsible for interacting with the physical body through the stimulation of the respective endocrine gland and nerve plexus that runs its messaging. Each chakra generally has had governance over the area of the body where it's located and runs archetypal programs or patterns of expression. As the false identity programming eventually dissolves through expanding consciousness, the responsibility of the new functioning is given directly to the endocrine gland, and the body grows new nerve plexes in order to handle the circulation of connections into the bodily systems. This stimulates a reconnection of internal systems to communicate with the body parts, so the body parts can communicate with the expanding consciousness. The endocrine gland becomes awakened with new purpose and new frequency, and with potentially new functions. Let's look at some contents. Dissolution of particle chakras. What the heck? What is this? Let's look at it. There's a lot of obsolescence happening now with the movement of configurations impacting the lower field energies, 1D, 2D, and 3D. For that reason, we need to focus on primarily that seat of the monad, Hara complex, seat of the soul, clearing, reversal, polarities, and obsolete lower energies. We are being raised into the next higher frequency or harmonic attunement that is appropriate for the seat of the monad to be fully embodied, the Hara center. We ask to determine the physical body stability and all physical matrix reconnections that support this core body monadic embodiment. Some of us may be experiencing a shift in the lower energies of our body, primarily the dissolution of earth particle frequency color wave spectrums that we have previously known make up the construction of the lower body, 1D, 2D, 3D chakras. Levels of that are undergoing updates. It is like a mixing of higher color waves from the higher spectrums directed into our lower chakra region, primarily the first and second layers. This is in direct alignment to the macrocosm dissolution and shifting of horizontal grids impacting the first and second dimensional frequencies and how those frequencies run in what we know as the particle spectrum. As that gets shifted into a macrocosm level of the planet, the platform of what our body has been using as a part of our structural matrix, that platform of our spirit body undergoes a shifting, and the color ray structure of that platform is undergoing multiple changes now. I'm sorry, but I get excited with this. Honestly, it's super beautiful to visualize. I'm reading to you and I'm visualizing at the same time, and it's like, wow, fantastic. So let's move on. Chakra software template. The chakra template is transmitted in its architecture from the planetary bodies that are in our solar system. Each chakra cone in the outer layers of the chakra cone that are projecting a template of consciousness. Think of it as an energy software, like a kind of software program that is influencing a level of expression. Again, all of that would be fine without the mind control overlay, but we understand that AI mind control overlay has been put in the template structure of the chakras to control the expression. What has happened in our bodies is that the overlay being used in mind control to bend, shape, influence, or send harmful frequencies to the human being with the intention of enslavement, suppression, or manipulation have been aimed through the planetary body in the solar system that is in governance of that particular principle. The planet Saturn, as a part of its governance over the root chakra created in our planet and in most of the human beings inhabiting this planet. Because of the level of the mind control being sent from Saturn, and the negative alien agenda is using Saturn as an outpost for Orion to send out these mind control mechanisms, psychotronic warfare, etheric weaponry, everything that has to do with the victimizer archetypes. A lot of our study of victimizer programming is intrinsic in the clarity that we are receiving in this period of time to be free from the software of Saturn using and directing victimizer software mind control. This is a subset of the Armageddon software. When you understand that false timeline program promoting false identities, promoting the false king of tyranny, so that they can create a master-slave race. And that's what their agenda has always been about. By creating a master and a slave, you create cycles of victimization. By doing that, you increase the cycle of victimizer in the person who is believing they are subservient to the tyrant god. In this case, a tyrant alien who is masquerading as a god in order to create this impact of the master-slave control of the terrain. This is especially true in the global religious mind control or spiritual mind control. Glands awaken, thank God. The chakra is being replaced with an energy center, and this creates a governance shift in the authority of running energy. The chakra is no longer the authority of running energy. The membrane is dissolving and it's becoming assimilated into the particle structure of whatever the body frequency is, meaning that our cells are starting to absorb this substance from the etheric layer. This is a part of the heavy detox of metallic energies that we are going through right now. The body is shifting in configuration. It is absorbing this membrane and it's coming into the physical realm. This was something that was non-physical. it was existing in the etheric layers of the body. And now, this is becoming enmeshed with the physical, what we think of as physical. It's absorbing into the body. The energy center that's left is being governed by the gland itself and not the chakra. The organ system and the glands system that is involved in the functioning of circulating energy and what was being fed by the chakra, it's now reversing the pattern. Before, the chakra was in control of that function, and now the organ is actually becoming in control of running energy in that system. The chakra membrane, this cone, whatever was there, has a conical structure, has started to be absorbed into the body itself, and all that's left is just pure energy. That energy is intelligent and it's being circulated by the intelligence of the cells in the body that are organized as an organ system. I'm sorry. It is like saying our glands were asleep. They were being stimulated, but they were not awake. The best way to imagine this is that our organs are awakening. Our cells are awakening and they have intelligence. Woohoo! They have a function that we didn't recognize, and they had in higher dimensional states, and we are starting to experience what that is in our body. Thank God. So the next part will be dissolving the 3D personality by analogy. The incarnated station of our identity that was our personality matrix, the aspect that was enmeshed with the lower three-dimensional frequencies, is also, guess what, dissolving. What this equates to is the dissolution of our personality matrix or station of identity that was located in the lower three dimensions, and moving that aspect of our identity into the higher frequency bands of our soul matrix or higher station of identity. What happens to the people on the earth who believe that they are only their personality identity when it begins to dissolve? We can see the effects of that consciousness shift now in the global scape. The range of experience for some people is from sensations of great anxiety, stress, and mental confusion, all the way to the descent into madness and insane behaviors. Most people are not aware. They are losing coherence and are unaware of the causality of what is actually influencing the way they think and behave. The lower dimensional contents that exist in the planetary collective consciousness fields are undergoing massive reconfiguration in multiple ways. This energetic change in the 3D reality has reached critical mass, which means it is greatly impacting all people of the earth. Whether asleep or awake, the self-mastery that has been either lost or gained is measured in how you personally deal, guess what? With stress and chaos. No person on this earth is exempt from the exposure to the massive fields of chaos. confusion, and darkness that exist in the collective mind of humanity. During this time, our inner energetic integrity is tested in order to hold neutrality while facing the greater forces of chaos. This is being tested in every person just from the mere fact of being on the earth at this time. Isn't this beautiful? How well are we able to adapt to change and hold neutrality in every kind of stressful situation? We have to measure our level of being competent, our competency level now. Can we measure ourselves and how competent we are in a multi-dimensional way of looking at ourselves? Can we see past the physicality? Because whether you want it or not, you are being influenced, changed, and you're still doing your lives. You're just awake, and you just discover this, and you are doing just fine. So, what would be the result of practicing and learning or integrating this new vision of yourself? I don't call it spiritual because I said before, I am reading and they work with spirituality. I work with energy. And what I love about this is that they see spirituality as energy. Isn't that great? So let's continue. If we are not doing well with adaptability, flexibility, and neutrality in our life situation, we must make adjustments to gain strength with this skill set. This is the time to take stock of how well we are coping with the madness of the earth, as the collective mind of humanity travels the dark night of the soul. What does this take, and what is being asked of us? All people must take responsibility for the quality of their thoughts. Yeah, it starts on the thoughts, then behaviors, actions, as all consciousness that is created as a direct cause and effect. Think about that. Since 2009, we have consistently emphasized the necessity of moving out of the 3D consciousness fields and from feeding those energies by identifying and clearing the 3 layers of the negative ego that are run in the lower dimensional fields. The clearing of negative ego is mandatory in order to adapt to the shifting timelines and to maintain coherence and sanity. It is imperative to address unresolved conflicts that create anxiety in our mind, emotions, and body, and apply clearing and healing tools that replace our previous ways of thinking with neutrality, love, and peace. I know it can be a lot to take for some of you who are just awakening. But as you see, you are there, you are listening to this, and you are doing okay. So keep on doing what you are. Don't see this as don't see this as a short-term win. No. See this as a lifetime discovery. Yeah. A lifetime discovery, because by engaging your consciousness with this kind of knowledge, what will happen is that you will start to experience no time, What you will start to experience is now time, now present time. Eternal time. But this is just my point of view. I'm not saying that this is the only point of view. No, there are many. There are thousands around there. I chose this. Why? Because I surfed around, I traveled around, and I saw a lot of stuff, and I practiced a lot of stuff. Until I discovered this, and it's not just the name. It's when you practice, it's what happens to you. It's totally freedom. It's like you gain a new attitude and knowingness about yourself and what is surrounding you. And this is perfect, because what is surrounding you is a morphogenetic field, and that's what we are going to see next. So keep on breathing, please. Feel comfortable and sweet, because that's what you are. You beautiful beings made of love and light. A morphogenetic field is a form-holding blueprint that stores information for how that form of consciousness will manifest. Morphogenetic fields are comprised by templates of conscious light and sound, which serve as the blueprints on which matter and consciousness identity will then manifest. This occurs at the microcosmic and the macrocosmic level and is a part of the mechanics of all creation. All matter forms and forms of consciousness, including planetary bodies and human bodies, are manifested through these morphogenetic form-holding imprints. The architecture of that manifestation template is the 12-tree grid. These exist as a quantity of crystalline, that's why it is also called a crystal body, energetic substance that is composed of specific patterns of frequency. The universe is one massive field of consciousness embracing and containing all other forms, where all experiences of reality and manifestation takes place. Layers upon layers of morphogenetic fields exist at every level. Form has manifested at each dimensional plane in the universal tree of life. Our personal blueprint example morphogenetic field is known as our personal morphogenetic field, and it expands to exist at the planetary level, the galactic level, the universal level, and the multiverse levels, all of the levels of the manifestation templates. The personal, planetary, galactic, and universal 12-tree grids are nested together, interconnected as what manifests within our holographic reality. Morphogenetic fields as communication stations. Morphogenetic fields are comprised of templates of conscious light and sound, which serve as a blueprint on which matter and conscious identity will then manifest. This occurs at the microcosmic and macrocosmic levels of the core manifestation template and is a part of the mechanics of all creation. All matter forms and forms of consciousness, including the layers that make up planetary bodies and human bodies, are manifested through these morphogenetic form-holding imprints of the core manifestation template or the 12-tree grid. They exist as a quantity of crystalline energetic substance that is composed of specific patterns in arrangements of frequency. The morphogenetic fields are instruction sets. They direct the movement of energy in the scalar wave points to form in certain ways, so that we perceive the holographic reality within that frequency band that our consciousness body is actually stationed within. The instruction sets contain intelligent energy that relays that quality of information to our consciousness, in which we can perceive that information directly or translate that information through sensory ability. The purpose of knowing about the instruction sets is in knowing that our consciousness, that our higher consciousness, the inner light of Krystal, can activate and begin to transmit Trinity wave formats into the planet's morphogenetic field patterns, and this shifts the reality into trinitized formats that further build the Triad communication stations. Planet and human DNA are one. Morphogenetic fields are a layered part of the consciousness architecture of the planet, which include the entire DNA and collective energy of humanity's mental and emotional body. These collective mental and emotional energies are responsible for what the entire planet manifests as its experiences and mirrors it to the whole. This is the microcosm relationship to the macrocosm. They are one and the same. This reinforces and influences belief systems, ego identity roles, and every psychosocial and cultural system existing on the planet today. So when it is discussed that the planetary architecture and the DNA has been hijacked by alien forces, it means also that the mental archetypes and emotional symbols that many humans had been using as a belief system to identify with as an ego identity are actually dissonant to the metaphysical nature and harmful to the life force and inner spirit. Yes, we have reached this far, and we can, gain some clarity in some issues, right? So what comes next is the last part of this ascension meditation journey that probably will take too much of your time. Me, I'm doing this just perfectly. Before I came in, I walked for 2 hours. I almost drank 1.5 liters of water. Yes, in 2 hours you can meditate, so that's what I do. I have one program that is called Transforming Your Life into a Daily Meditation. So if it is a daily meditation, it's 24 hours and you are going to take that meditation everywhere you go, even walking. So when you're walking or running, for example, because when you're running you really need to watch out for your breathing, right? So walking is the same thing. And if you take attention in the way that you're walking and what you're doing, what you're thinking while you're walking, and listening to your music and being aware of your breath, then you will see that if you act on it daily, consistently, you will see that you will shift. And it's just walking, but it's walking consciously, transforming your life into a daily meditation. And what comes next is, what is Ascension? Can anyone tell me what is Ascension? Well, someone can. It's called Lisa Renee. And what is Ascension? Class 1 Transcript from 2007. Accordingly to Lisa Renee view. And we reached that state again where 1 hour has passed. I had been drinking water, so I will go to the bathroom again. If you need to go to the bathroom again, go to the bathroom again. Okay? I will make a pause so you won't miss anything. Just like last time. So, I'll see you in a couple minutes. Keep breathing, and you go to the bathroom, you are drinking water. Remember the breath. Hello again, dear beautiful souls made of love and light. I ask, are you prepared? It's gonna be like 1 hour. Yeah, we have 2 hours now. We probably will end up with 3 hours of a very long journey into the Ascension Process. We left the Ascension glossary pages and we enter into energetic synthesis with Lisa Renee. So let's start this. If you are ready, when you are ready, take in some deep, and I mean deep breath in. Hold for as long as you can and put it all out 3 times. Now set your intention to receive and taking only what you resonate with, letting go of what you don't resonate with. It's going to be a long journey. And again, this is What is Ascension? Class 1 Transcript 2007. Accordingly to Lisa Renee. Transcript generously provided by A. Scoville. Thank you for our first class. Our Ascension Class number 1. What is Ascension? And investigating and speaking a little bit more about what is Ascension in the term, at least the context that I use it in, because Ascension obviously has many other meanings. When we say Ascension, and we are moving forward in terms of our developing consciousness, in actuality, what we are doing is descending our divinity into our physical bodies. So actually, the ascension is a descension of our spiritual energetic bodies, which is almost in reverse of what we actually think it means. We are ascending in consciousness, but we actually are descending that divinity into the physical vehicle. So our actual goal is to connect with higher, more refined, vibrating aspects of ourselves. So when we think of our soul, our oversoul, and these aspects of spiritual energetic identity, this is where we get the understanding of the cosmology of dimensions and dimensional spectrums are brought to awareness. When we understand the color wave spectrums of each dimension and use our chakras as a foundational model, that again helps us to understand what the 7 primary chakras function actually are, we can start with those 7 dimensions, of which there is a plane of reality that we as a soul, God being, multidimensional God being, actually have an intelligence and an aspect of ourself in simultaneous time that is existing on that particular plane of reality. So the ascension is literally a ascension or collective or collecting of those fragments or other identities of ourselves as we merge them into this moment of self that we are sharing now. Because it is this soul identity in terms of the personality level that is actually experiencing the time cycle of the ascension. And so many of us are ascending for our entire soul extension family. And that is again the same thing as soul retrieval or soul reclamation. We are actually merging with those identities into this identity in this moment of self and time. And we again move up the consciousness scale in not only accessing higher and more refined levels of our creator, of our creative intelligence forces and our mind matrix, but also the process of ascension is liberating us from the lower form worlds of manifestation, which is what this particular time space of Earth reality is considered. It is considered a lower form world, and again with no value or judgment, but in terms of understanding that there are lower form worlds, mid-creational realms, and higher creational realms. Here, we are existing within the harmonic universal structure of the Earth that is the densest possible reality that you can experience in a spiritualized form. So to be connected to God's source and to experience this level of density, this is about as dense as we can get and still be connected into the one source, God's source light. So ascension is not just a spiritual concept. The terms of ascension is used hand in hand with soul evolution, the awakening process, becoming soul-infused personalities on Earth. Ascension is also a literal, tangible, scientific process of the evolution of consciousness and biology within specific laws and energy mechanics that apply to a multidimensional reality system. So this, in fact, is something that I endeavor to share a base knowledge with in order to understand this ascension term as a concept first. And I think for each one of us it's very unique and individual. You have to feel within yourself as you start to feel your own truth of being and your interest, enthusiasm or animation to this material. Some of this material is obviously going to be too much information for many people in this ascension wave. However, those of us that usually make it this far on the ascension path are here because we are the ones that endeavor to hold either future leadership or stewardship roles, where we will endeavor to hold the space required that creates a sphere of influence that activates larger groups of beings. So the Guardians have made it very clear to me that this is basically a leadership or stewardship primer. That there are many beings on the planet that will not quite resonate with this level of, let's say, technical data. But those of us that are of the starseed races or indigo races that are in this timeline that we are sharing now, the fact that we are all together in this group at this time is indicative of the fact that we have all been magnetized together so we can share this experience of preparing ourselves into the next level of our authenticity. In terms of our soul plan, what we are here to contribute to the larger whole and as well fulfilling our own soul mission, which has a leadership or a group type of agreement with that. Because as we become more vast in our own ability to hold light, the more advanced we are in terms of our light body spectrum, as we start to actually anchor that frequency and light within our physical vehicle, we then are increased in our light power. In terms of our auric field, this is not only becomes larger, but it becomes more potent in shaping the fields of manifestation down here in this particular realm. So, for the most of us at this time, our goal is to really become soul actualized in the physical. And when we become to a certain level of that soul actualization, which is considered more between the 6th and 7th dimensional realms, and again using your chakras as a model, when we start to hit light body at 6th and 7th dimensional levels, which is the indigo wave and the purplish light spectrum, we start to become a unified vertical column within our chakras. We start to move into the next layers and levels that frees us from the 7 solar planes of this particular planet structure, in recognizing that we have 7 primary chakras and planes of reality at this level of existence. So does the planet Earth. As we move up of the chakra columns and we absorb those energies into our light body system, what happens is that we build the harmonics of our core structure. We are actually these beautiful rainbow crystalline beings, and as that light becomes absorbed and anchored within our personal light body structure, we expand, and we live an individuated consciousness and become much more merged into a group identity. And so, having had this experience, I do not want to share that there is something that you lose at all by doing this. I know that in the process earlier, for myself, when I thought about reincarnation or multiple identities of myself existing in simultaneous time, it was very hard for my brain to be able to wrap around that. And what I have found is that you gain everything as you start to access higher and higher levels of identity, of resources, and you actually have the ability to feel and experience yourself as a group entity, as well as an awareness of observing yourself as an individual identity. As an example, the individual soul personality identity would be Lisa Renee, whereas the group reality is the Syrian Council. So this is all myself, and yet at the same time I am aware of both simultaneous states of consciousness at all times. And so with that, I end up having a much richer, fuller and unique experience that certainly, let's say, when we say we have left third dimension, it's incredibly real for me at this particular point. I know that I must be merging at both levels because that is what our role is here on Earth as integrators. We are not here to leave the planet per se, and connect only with the celestial management structures. We are here to anchor this higher consciousness, these frequencies and coding, and as we are embodied within that, integrate these frequencies into contemporary society. This is what makes this ascension cycle and this process of ascension very different from many other processes of human evolution up until this point. Even in our recent history, if we look at how human beings were developing their spirituality, many of them would participate in a guru discipline type of a relationship. You would petition your teacher, you would petition the hierophant or the priest, and you would go into the esoteric mystery schools, and this lineage would be passed down to those that were either the sincere seekers or had the bloodline and legacy of which to learn these truths of human spiritual evolution and consciousness as it evolves through the laws of this particular universal system. We are now moving into the end of an ascension cycle, which in the timeline, and what a timeline is, goes back to the ascension concept. The easiest way to equate a timeline or the time grid is also to recognize that is also a dimension. The higher dimensions that we are moving into represent future time and space. As we move through progressively refined and higher fields of energy, we move through each of the subharmonic frequency bands within each dimension. So, as an example, as we are moving through this ascension cycle, all of us on this call and most of us on the planet were born into a third dimensional timeline grid. And when this occurred, when our souls made the choice and we created the blueprint of our creational process and our objectives and goals for this particular incarnation, we were given a snapshot, literally. And that's a lot what our astrology is as well. They are the magnetic imprints and the influencers of the soul. At the time, the soul came in to the instruction field, which is called the morphogenetic field of the earth, in this particular time cycle. We became imprinted with the Earth's cellular memory field and all of the mass consciousness of the human species that we share our body with. And we also came with very unique individual energies and signatures that were to influence very specific contributions and expressions of our being during this particular ascension process. So, when we came here, we were imprinted with third dimensional energy constructs. We had a third dimensional template that had the potential to always ever expand, as does every human being on this planet. However, it is up to us to activate those potentials within us. Except now that we are coming to the end of a harvesting or ascension cycle, what's happening en masse is that frequencies and energies are exposed to the planet at this time that have not been exposed to this planet for eons of time, somewhat in the figure of 250,000 years. So, as we are becoming in these human biologies exposed to these new levels of frequency, our biologies are starting to activate new neurological structures, new DNA functions. And this is a part of the natural organic biological ascension that the human species was perfectly designed to undergo through each of the evolutionary rounds that were a part of the energy laws of this system. I'm trying not to get too technical, but to help you understand the evolutionary rounds, we actually have 4 rounds of 26,000 years. So the Mayan calendar is also very much accurate in terms of its depiction that 26,556 years is what it takes for one round of our planet to go around the Milky Way system. And it is that one evolutionary round that we complete that when the galactic center of the Earth and the Sun are aligned that open the Stargate portals. The Stargates are closed during certain periods of the evolutionary rounds, and at the end of the cycle is when the Stargate portals and vortices of the Earth actually open. The veils are then lifted because the frequencies that create the illusion of the time-space of the third dimension then start to dissolve into the higher frequencies. These frequencies then melt into what we could almost say is like a weighted energy frequency average, because this is a gradual stair-step process. We have to do this gradually, because as we know, anyone who has had Kundalini releases can understand the extreme power and force that is involved in universal life force. It would be like plugging us into 2000 volts of power directly into our physical bodies, and our energy fields could never survive this. So the Ascension is about exposing the planet and the consciousness to ever increasing and accelerating refined oscillating frequency wave patterns, and these energy waves actually start to activate certain aspects of our DNA and coding depending on what our program is here. When I say program, I mean to define our soul mission, what we are here to accomplish, and how we are genetically coded. So everyone on this call has been awakened to a certain degree because of their soul's agreement and specific genetic coding that is related to a star lineage. That star lineage has said, I will wake up before the masses, I will participate as one of the Ascension forerunners, as one of my endeavors is to bring that gift of transformation to the planet during this paradigm shift and ascension cycle. So, you are to recognize yourself as the forerunners of ascension. You really represent the future of the human species and are way ahead of schedule in terms of the masses. Most of us, in terms of the indigo and star races, really represent the human race probably 100 years from now. We are aligning to the divine design, and we are laying the groundwork of this new coding and potential so that we can hold open the portals of passage for ascension. However, also allow critical mass to be achieved where other beings can pick up the energy codes or frequencies that will help to either activate their DNA or rehabilitate their DNA. One of the biggest issues we have here at this particular evolutionary cycle of the Earth is that many of the beings here have either damaged DNA or such incredibly heavy karmic burden that karmic energy blockage creates such a challenge and such adversity for the being. This makes it very difficult for the being to connect to its higher soul matrix and get the inner message. And so that's why many of us are the path cutters, the supporters, and the agents of transformation that are attempting to make it much easier for those that follow us. In terms of ascension, obviously we recognize that something really profound is happening now, and it's very important to share this information for each one of us. When we go through this, obviously there is potential to feel really isolated, to feel scared, to feel like you're losing your sanity. We are leaving the old constructs of the ego mind and the personality identity, and that is one of the difficult side effects of the ascension. We can even use our chakra column as a model. If we recognize that most of the human race is polarized within its solar plexus, within the third chakra, from the lower three dimensions. So most human beings on this planet are only actively firing the first three dimensions of their energy centers. Now the star seeds and indigos are activated at the higher energy centers and have much more active chakras or DNA imprints in their DNA strands that have been plugged in that are not dormant. And it is in many of the human race. Let's say the Earth population that is not participating with ascension have different levels of contribution to the planet at this time. I define the Earth seed and the star seed as a way to discern the difference between the third dimensional being and the multidimensional being. So there were groups of souls that were responsible to anchor and work with the first 5 DNA strands and to participate in the Earth experiment in working with those particular levels of consciousness. Our original goal was to re-evolve the divine human template to its original intention, which was as a 12-strand DNA, which would mean 12 simultaneous dimensions of existence while still retaining a particular type of form. The form will not be this dense. In terms of the carbon material our physical elemental body is comprised of at this time, it would be more of a silicate or etheric plasma type of nature. So this is where we are going. We are clearing the carbon-based density out of our molecular and subatomic structures and becoming less dense and more refined, in that we are starting to anchor more of our actual crystalline structure, which is of a silicate base. We can imagine that as we go through this transformation, it can be very intense at times. It is like taking the most dense carbon form and attempting to alchemically shift that into more and more refined states of oscillating patterns of vibration. So, that is our goal at this time, and as a natural part of actually what the Ascension process is. So it's important to keep that in mind. one thing I do want to share is that so much of what we experience in a polarized system that we are still existing in is that what really is happening is actually the opposite of what we experience in density. So, as an example, many of us have this sense as we are growing and expanding our light bodies and calling that light to anchor within our physical structures. There are times in the evolution and ascension process where you will actually feel more physically dense than you ever have. And this phenomenon is created during certain periods of accelerated growth, where the oscillating fields, the rates of vibration in oscillation ratio between your auric field and its energy templates and your physical body is extremely vast. There is such a chasm between the two that actually, as your light body is becoming incredibly refined, your physical body will feel molecularly compacted, and therefore you will feel, at times, just dense and heavy. Dense as a doorknob. This is kind of funny because sometimes when you're thinking ascension, you're wondering, well, I thought I was supposed to feel lighter, right? Eventually we'll get to that point. But for those that are path cutters, specifically, I want to make this point because sometimes that has been confusing. And that is when we do really extreme and rapid acceleration, there will be times when you are doing cleansing or purging or just purely feel a particular density or heaviness in your body. One of the milestones I'm very familiar with is there is a strange sensation of a density, almost like a brick, that is lying on your pelvic floor. This is the area where our etheric radial cord connects to all of the different levels of the dimensions. And so, this tends to be an area, again, about 2 inches beneath the navel, tends to feel sometimes just like there is 100-pound weight in there. And then it will lift. But that, I notice, is very common. And it seems to be more common in females as well, for various reasons. I want to share that because, again, when you think of ascension, you think of growing lighter, growing larger, growing freer. And there are times when your physical body feels so dense that you're saying, this doesn't make any sense to me at all. So that is why that happens. I want to talk a little bit about the mechanics of what the ascension shift means. And so again, going back to kind of the basic level, we realize that we are moving into an expansion, into experiencing higher consciousness as multidimensional human beings living on this planet. All of us on this planet at this time, at whatever level our soul, our self-awareness is, are participating in the ascension cycle at whatever level their consciousness is aware of it. I think most of us are recognizing that most people actually have no idea that this is going on and may have their own framework or no framework of what's happening. But certainly, I know that as a spiritual guide and having observed what's happening in more of the third dimensional levels of consciousness, it's really interesting. I'm really starting to see the critical mass hit within those levels of being that are really starting to feel that something is happening. They just don't have a word or a way to express it. We don't have a framework or a benchmark that has been given because we are undergoing something so unique. One of the things that the Guardians have made mention several times, which is rather fascinating, is that right now we have reached a milestone. We reached a level of connection that we had never done before at this level of, let's say, physical vibration in our biologies. So the fact that we were born into a third dimensional reality structure and have actually accelerated ourselves, our bodies, and the planetary fields enough to support influx of 12 dimensional frequency and above is really a momentous milestone in the human species evolution. I think this really portends some wonderful things that are in store for us on a lot of levels. And yet, what's so interesting is that polarity comes in terms of what's really happening in the fields, and what we experience in the physical realms is almost the opposite. So we are going to start to see surreal activities in our government in terms of structures that were in power, obviously, in very much the old energy paradigm. And we very much are starting to feel, see, and recognize the power struggles between the old paradigm of being and the new energy reality system. So if we were going to give that a theme, a way to kind of understand that is that we are living the third dimensional consciousness, which is all of the attributes of the solar plexus in terms of its lower ego expression. If we look at the issues of the planet today, we can see that this is a third dimensional consciousness gone wary, a consciousness that has used its third chakra to a point of imbalance. The higher expressions are not as usually prevalent in terms of how we view and perceive what's going on the earth at this time. The first three chakras are physical layers. In fact, the first, second, and third chakra is a part of our physical emanation in terms of how we experience our physical selves. So as we start to leave the third dimension and we move into the first spiritual body, which is the heart chakra, what will happen, and what we're really starting to see happen, is that the structures start to collapse. The old identities that were reliant on third dimensional structures as a way to verify or reinforce who they are, those are the very structures that are starting to collapse. And those of us that have gone through awakening process know this all too well. Anything that has to do with our work, our money, our shelter, how we define ourselves, really starts to be stripped away from us because we are learning to be less reliant on the external perceptions of reality and more reliant on the inner, which is of course the reality of our God self and connection to spirit. As we live the ego mind, which happens to have its mind matrix in our third chakra, we start to leave the ego construct, which is a part of the personality we are, and we come into the higher intelligences of our soul identity and oversoul identity. And we start to now rely on that intelligence and the way we navigate through our life experience. We are at an incredible time of evolution with that, and my feeling is we are still learning a lot how that works. We are trying to get up to speed about becoming really in alignment with living human order and trusting and learning divine order. We must learn the language of the divine matrix, the light language of spirit. As many of us know on this call, the light language of spirit is not linear. It is simultaneous, and it is in the moment, and it works in a complete different way. Our biggest task at this time is the attempt to integrate while we are in this hybrid state. How do we find practical tools and ways to learn how to navigate ourselves in the seemingly third dimensional world? You know, we are sort of in between, where we are not fully released from things like our car payments, our appointments that we need to be at in a certain time and space. There are still things that we still must function in order to be a part of the earth at this particular time space. So I think that's our biggest challenge. How do we interact with the third dimensional world or this level of reality and hold this presence and this energy? And fully honor ourselves and our authenticity in fully removing negativity or blockages that would create any obstruction of our soul's creative potential. We've got some tasks worked out for ourselves during this ascension cycle. But again, this is an amazing opportunity of ascended mastery, and it is amazing too as well to actually realize that this is the first time that we have made it this far with this level of consciousness available to us in a form. They have actually said that the energies that are available to us now were not available to those that had ascended in the past. So this is actually what they're describing is the beings that we refer to as planetary ascended masters. They did not have this opportunity at their particular time of ascension. We are the forerunners. We are the forerunners that are ascending the universal consciousness at this particular time that not only impacts the planet Earth and the human species here, it also goes through all of the 7 planes and beyond, where we are affecting neighboring universes and other species entirely. So this is bigger than we could ever imagine or ever express, and probably much bigger than we ever thought it would be. It's really just beyond comprehension. The Ascension process is about moving consciousness from one reality into another, and understanding that possible multiple realities exist simultaneously. So since a reality is again a dimension and is also a time space, what we are undertaking is a complete dimensional shift, and a complete shift that is skipping into future time space. When you think about that, that is pretty wild, and why we have so many challenges at times with time and space in terms of the spatialization of our consciousness, how it is changing and how we experience time and space. And so for many of us, we look at the clock and the clock is still going in terms of a 24-hour period, but in actuality, the way the time-space matrices are working, we are receiving much less time than we did 10 or 20 years ago because of the way the time fields work. So it is a little strange at times. Our bodies were born with a third-dimensional clock shield template. A clock shield is literally like an alarm clock in our energy field template that has certain times, It's almost like alarms that go off in our biology at age 12, age 22, age 33, age 44. These are cycles that are actually almost like alarm clocks, and they refer to this as a clock shield template. So when these clock shield templates go off in our physical biology, there are certain events and structures and things that happen in how we experience time, but also what our soul's mandate was in terms of what we were here to experience. So many of us can relate to this feeling that an alarm clock has gone off in our body. We can feel that there's something to do, but we don't know what it is. Yet, it's really important to be clear that you need to relax. You really, it's the cat, I'm sorry. And really, what your job is at this particular time is to really stay in the present moment of your awareness and to discipline by clearing any fear or negativity patterns or karmic or ancestral patterns, depending on what you're here to do. Because as you go through this process of evolution, it's really important to not to worry and to really take it in at your own pace. What's more important than anything is to maintain a sense of neutrality. Whenever you create constriction or blockages or stress in the body, it will compact you in such a way that it makes it much more difficult for these frequencies and energies that you are conducting to move through your body. So a way to think of yourself is as a human electrical acupuncture point on the earth, and that not everyone is holding that particular space on the earth because their bodies and their energy templates and their DNA were not coded with the ability to do that at this particular time and space. So, the star seed races, the indigo races, are the beings that are acting as the ascension acupuncture points of frequency. And this is how these frequencies come from the unified fields and down into the lesser fields. Finally, just progressing and descending into the spirals until we get into density and we start to embody this frequency encoding. So again, our goal is that we open that up into the morphogenetic fields of the human blueprint, and the human species as a whole has access to this coding and DNA and frequency and information. And the list goes on. That had not previously been here in any of the previous evolutionary cycles or ages of our evolutionary seeding. So that is why many of us go through symptoms, changes, awareness that we may be standing next to another being that has no resonance or relevance to what you are experiencing. In the beginning stages of our evolution, it's really important to know this because it's kind of daunting in the beginning when you are going through some extreme intensity, and yet your biological family or friends that love you, that may not be going with you in that same direction, really have no way to relate to your experience. Many of us now, the Starseed and Indigo family, the Lightworker family, are starting to connect, to create a network of that support, that resonance, that recognition. Because many of us have also gone through this experience of being on the earth feeling like we weren't seen for who we really are. We had relationships and people and exchanges of love. However, there was always another element missing. And I think now Through the promise of the liberation through the ascension cycle, many of us are really getting to be introduced to the memory of who we are and the memory of our star family, and this has really just been delightful and fun, at least in my own experience. And I know for many of the beings that I speak to, that has been an incredible balm and comfort to the soul. One thing I should talk about for a moment on our ascension path, and is also very relative to our starseed family, the emotional pain and imbalances, karmic, genetic, and ancestral clearings that we do for our soul lineage, our soul families, is generally a part of our group's mission, and so many of us have chosen to clear states of imbalance. The collective of a specific group, again, those are the path cutters. We are a product, as well, chromosomally, genetically, of our family line and parentage. So all of us will, at some point, will go through a mother-father initiation, which is another way to say ancestral clearing. Because the mother-father principle, when we look at it at the macrocosm, the universal level, is really our relationship, our belief structure, our alignment to the mother-father God principle of the creational principles of the universe, of God source. So when we look and we apply that to our family of origin, we can really start to see the macro-micro kind of mirror of what our healing entails. What we came here to heal is really mirrored back to us in the hologram of our own parentage, of our own family of origin. If you look at your biological family, you must often you can see the macro healing that your soul had contracted to work with on tops of the larger scales. It's funny how spirit and souls, our souls, we start out at the micro levels in terms of our personal and interpersonal relationships with our biological families. And even myself, I remember at some point making the comment, of course I have to laugh now, where I said I would never choose these parents. Where did they come from? And actually, of course, that's an untruth. I absolutely choose that parentage. And that was because these beloved beings had the best tools and the information of what I needed in order to fulfill my soul's agreement and to strengthen and build my character to such degree that I would have the experience necessary to express the potential of what I am here to experience. In deep gratitude to my beloved parents, and that definitely is something many of us have to reframe on that focus, is they are the best teachers of what is going on in third dimensional consciousness. And especially because one thing I've noticed in the indigo and star family is that we didn't necessarily have the defense mechanisms or the awareness of many of the third dimensional beings. So it was like we needed to have some very extreme experiences in the third dimension so that we could learn how to do a third dimensional case study. Many of us in the star family didn't exist in planes of polarity or dualistic systems at these levels of density. with this level of veiling and forgetfulness. And so when we came here, we really didn't know what it was going to be like. And there were some really intense experiences that many of us had undergone, not only for the potential in the gift of clearing karmic imbalance for this planet, but also in being able to experience a system of duality of which we truly didn't understand. Because as most of us can contend, the ego and the third dimensional system is a very complex and slippery slope in terms of how to navigate and to really feel and connect to the underlying mechanism of the energetic truth versus what the surface is showing you with your five senses. And that, of course, is one of our goals: to master the world of illusion and the world, therefore, of deception, and to connect fully to what is the energetic truth, the underlying mechanism of what is really supporting that artifice in this illusion system. That sounds easy, but all of us probably know it is much more difficult to apply in the third dimensional world when you're trying to navigate yourself around. These are lessons that are extremely important for us at this time, is to realize that many of us have chosen extremely challenging situations, not only for leadership training and character strengthening and development of our own essence and core to embody within us. That is the process of alchemy in a polarized system. And when I say polarized, I'm talking about a particle and an anti-particle system. This is the way the system is built in terms of creational principle. We are in a system of opposites, and again, a part of our opposite is merging in with us. We actually merge in with our double, and we become whole in the process. And that is another word of calling what sacred union or cosmic Christ consciousness is, which is another aspect, of course, of the process of ascension, getting to that level where we are embodied as holistic Christic beings in alignment to our divine blueprint and the natural harmony of who we are as beings. In the material, I talk about transmutational symptoms. I think I don't need to spend that much time there because many of us are very familiar with transmuting and the ascension symptoms, and I think I'll leave that more for the Q&A so that we can get, rather than talk about the symptoms, we can talk about some remedies, some experiences that have worked for each one of us. I wanted to just kind of define a couple of terms that are being used when we speak about spiritual ascension. Here is a spiritual ascension, there is a dimensional ascension, it all kind of works together. But to understand what spiritual ascension is, that's another word to say consciousness awakening. It's another word to say Kundalini release. There are many modalities, practices, and belief systems on the planet that talk about spiritual aspiration and evolution of the human being. The Guardians and the Syrian Council would term all of that under spiritual ascension, so this is just another word for it. As we go through our ascension process during this particular cycle, really, our paramount goal is to build and hold enough frequency to be liberated from the frequency fence of the third dimensional Earth. Because when we become actually liberated from the frequency fence, what happens is that we come to a level where our sphere of influence and our auric field really starts to activate others. So what you may notice as you go through the ascension process, and we can use again the chakra column as a model, each of the chakras, as you start to accrete and build the light body, we are building the harmonic structure of our spiritual core from the foundation up. That's how we build our consciousness light body. However, we will also activate certain chakras at certain times in our experience. But that may mean that we didn't build the foundation of our light body at the lower level. A good example: many indigos come in with an open or ready to activate third eye or sixth chakra, but that doesn't mean that their fourth and fifth light bodies have been completed. What that means is that they may have certain access is that sixth chakra as it opens, because of the law of harmonics, will start to draw the fourth and fifth dimensional frequencies up into the sixth chakra. So that being also has an evolutionary advantage over another being that doesn't have an activated sixth chakra. So again, it's important to understand that the star family has, let's say, more developed and advanced genetic package that was designed to wake up first in the waves during this ascension cycle, and again has nothing to do with value and everything to do with just energy and understanding our role here with human evolution and planetary ascension. And that every human's being birthright is to have these phenomena and this part of their ascension biology activated. We are just doing it first. So spiritual ascension again is a scientific process of the evolution of consciousness as it comes into form and biology and specific energy mechanics that apply to a multidimensional reality system. So a way to understand this is that, and this maybe we'll discuss in a future class, but just as a kind of basic primer, is that we are existing in the egg of the God energy matrix, and we could consider that as a humongous cosmic egg. And within that egg is all of the dimensions spiraled into various toroid shapes and forms. And so through the God egg we would consider that, let's say, a non-dimensionalized system, because again dimension means time, so beyond dimension into God matrix there is no time and space. There's just the still point of one source. However, within and inside the cosmic God energy egg, there is a dimensionalized structure that creates multidimensional reality systems, or a universal time matrix system of which consciousness has chosen to experience various forms. And again, we could say these all feed back into the God source. This is the part of the in-breath and out-breath cycles of the creation of God principle. So again, we could say, as God takes an out-breath, the breath outward creates the lower, the descending spirals of creation moving outward from the center of one, the God source. As the breath moves out, the creations the furthest away out are the furthest away from the clear light source of God. So we become more, let's say, potentially in our perception. The farther we go dimensionally descending through that spiral, we feel separate from God's source, even though we are not. That was a part of the role of that experience that we have chosen to take part in on earth. And now, the ascension is the in-breath. We are now collecting all that was in the out-breath of God that pushed outward into the periphery of the dimensional realms. Now we are calling all of that back to be reintegrated. That's what the ascension is. The in-breath, breathing back into the one source from which we have originated. That's also another way to look at the ascension process, but cannot be a toroid field. Because these people are trying to make me see the out-breath and the in-breath as a toroidal shape, which is not. I am visualizing my out-breath, correct? And it's creating the entire reality around me. And now I'm taking in all the reality around me, and it's not a toroidal shape. Okay? We can put it as I'm holding an elastic in both of my hands. Correct? And now I pull the elastic out, and it will be, by analogy, because it's an elastic, it will come back to where it was stationed. The out breath doesn't come in, doesn't get back to me. I give the out breath, I create the reality, and then I take the in breath and I take the reality I've created. But I'm not taking in a building, I'm not taking in the computer, I'm not taking in the micro. So, forget about the fucking toroid, once and for all. Because the toroid is like something in the third dimensional reality. If you are still stationed in the third dimension reality, there is where you will see toroids everywhere. All the rest, I don't know. What about quantum mechanics and string theory? Well, maybe everything is just a string. Yeah, and I mean a string, and the string can be a spiral string, right? So where's the I'm sorry. So where is the toroid in the spiral universe, where we have vortices of energy regulating the physical reality, or the physical and etheric reality all simultaneously? Yeah, this gets like, let's move on. I want to talk for a moment about what dimensional ascension is, because this specifically refers to the process that we all know as what has been termed initiation. So, as part of our ascension process, it will also include initiation that connects us into certain frequency bands of energy that then become accreted in our bodies and activate us in various ways. Initiation is when, let's say, you're a third dimensional being and it's now your time to start evolving into your soul's journey. Thank God. One's higher self will start to pull in higher frequencies and code. Let us say one is activated to pull in the light codes of the fourth dimension, and so the fourth dimensional energies start to now come in to your heart chakra and into your auric field. The process of your third dimensional body now is starting to access fourth dimensional frequency, and this would be considered a spiritual initiation. You are initiated into higher and higher octaves of dimensional frequency, and as you go through the natural process of evolution and the ascension cycle, as you begin your soul initiation, you're working with the fourth dimensional frequency, which is all about the heart center. So as you start absorbing these frequencies via your light body's etheric natal structure, which is your energy blueprint template of your central nervous system, so your etheric body, your natal structure, starts to access this fourth frequency dimension and starts to pull in these frequencies into your individual manifestation or energy auric template. And as it does, it brings in frequencies. Some of us, we know, go a little too fast and we get afraid, but the energy starts to transmit and they come into our energy bodies. So again, they drill down through all the layers of our auric field until they are actually anchored into our physical structure. So this process would be called spiritual initiation. We are now initiated and connected to those new fields of energy. Now we are absorbing that energy, and that energy is now coming in to our auric field. These frequencies drill down until we anchor it into our physical cells. So this has been referred to as either absorbing light, you're absorbing light when you're pulling in the frequency bands, or let's say all of the codes of the fourth dimension. And again, between each dimension there are 12 subbands. In the fourth dimension there are 12 subbands. So through each of the dimensional structures there are 12 octaves of subbands between each of the dimensional structures. As an example, when you are coming out of, let's say, you're in a third dimensional body and you start accessing the first octave of the fourth dimension, you've got 11 more to go before you've actually completed the fourth dimensional spectrum. So that's one way to look at it in understanding the frequency fields as they are coming into the bodies. That our natural bodies and our soul and oversoul is the intelligence that is in charge of this process and is doing it as smooth and easily as it possibly can. This depends on the unique structure that we are. So after we have actually absorbed or consumed as much of the frequency bands and codes of a particular dimension, so let's say all of dimension 4, including all of the 12 substrands of that dimension, then we go through a spiritual body activation. An activation will literally put in new natal and neurological structures that were never there being used before. And those structures act as energy receivers to take you to the next spiritual initiation. So the activation is also about activating the DNA, and the DNA also has its 12 substrands, just like the 12 subharmonics of the 4 dimensions. Between each dimension, we are talking about between the third and fourth dimensions, there are 12 subharmonic bands. The DNA has 12 substrands in there as well, as those are called fire codes or fire letters. We've heard that term many times about activation of the fire letters. It's the cellular alphabet of our DNA, and that DNA becomes activated when we start pulling in dimensional fourth dimensional frequency from the first octave. Then that means your dimensional 4 DNA with the first octave will start to plug in. Now, if it doesn't plug in, this is what many of us are dealing with on Earth, is when there is damage or distortions in the genetics. This is where we have healing crises or things that go on. And, as we know, the fourth dimension is primarily the astral plane, and I would say is probably the most challenging and problematic of which to really work through and heal, because of all of the distortions of the human history that have arisen in that particular level of creation. The astral plane has got some amazingly beautiful and refined energies in the higher astral, but the lower astral is, I would say by our standards, could be pretty horrific. There's a lot of darkness there, a lot of trickery there, and a lot of the lower astral planes are where could be considered hellish types of realities as well. So the astral is an intense one to get through, and in my opinion, one of the most challenging, because it's where our emotional body has resided, and there's a lot of healing to do as we can contend with our emotional bodies. That's what an activation is. It literally activates the DNA, and it starts to plug into your neurological structure. And then, as you activate DNA, and you may start to have more frequencies, more shifts in consciousness. With your DNA and new nervous system upgrades, there tends to be different awareness and things that go on. And you start to experience your world in a different way. What's interesting is that I believe our science at this time still calls our inactive DNA, junk DNA, because they cannot figure out what that DNA is being used for. It's kind of humorous actually when you think about it, that inactive DNA is the human birthright in actually connecting and having awareness of the broadcast of the multidimensional realms that we were originally designed to perceive and be aware of. So it is interesting to note that we have been unplugged from our DNA, and the process of ascension is again re-evolving and rehabilitating and plugging back in that dormant DNA. We are bringing our DNA back into its maximum potential, and the process of ascension and building energy fields does just that. I want to define a little bit about what a dimension is as well. I know that I have spoken a bit that a dimension is, to make it easy for you. Know that when I say dimension, if you have been scientifically trained, then you think of width, height, and space. That's not at all what I'm referring to. I'm talking about the frequency band as a dimension. So, in terms of ascension mechanics and the physics of ascension, a dimension is a frequency band. So it's a repeating sequence of flashing on and off scalar standing wavepoints that exist within a grid, and that grid is called a morphogenetic field, and I know that's a word that I use all the time. So a morphogenetic field, if you remember, is a manifestation template, and it holds the instruction set of all of the electrotonal energy substances that compose the unique arrangement of what you are here to do. The morphogenetic imprint holds the design again for the form building in sort of an electronic encoding, and these forms that come into manifestation that are us and evolve. These are all patterns that are drawn from your personal morphogenetic or blueprint. Now, everything in creation has an instruction set, a blueprint, or a morphogenetic field. So that's what that morphogenetic field is. It is an instruction set, and again, it directs the energy in the scalar wave points to form in certain ways, so that our consciousness, when we are stationed at that level of reality of perception, we start to perceive our holographic reality within that frequency band that our consciousness is actually stationed in. A dimension is a full frequency band of repeating sequences of flashing waves going on and off. That's the particle-antiparticle universe that we are working with, and is what we are actually existing in the same simultaneous space with. So when the reality is flashing on and off, sometimes we can perceive this. I know that I experienced this at times. I'm not sure if any of you have yet. Is that flashing on and off being experienced and literally coming into certain realities. I've talked about the descending and ascending parts of the matrix, and actually seeing when in certain reality structures it appears, like when I was in a particular space, like the grocery stores. It appeared like I was watching a whole movie that was clicking slides. I could see the flashing on and off of the reality, and that was really interesting, which again means that my consciousness was oscillating at a higher refined rate that was out of the range of that particular descending matrix structure. I think many of us are going to start to experience this more and more, which is rather interesting. Dimensions again are fixed groupings of energy within specific geometric arranged forms and are built upon crystallized consciousness units of sound and light. And those conscious units of sound and light are called morphogenetic fields or manifestation templates. So from each of these instruction set templates, these manifestation templates dimensions are composed of stationary points of the vibration of sound and light, which together form a fabric of tone, and into which smaller morphogenetic fields are woven. So, from each fixed point of the sound vibration and within each dimension of manifestation field, an electrical current of consciousness emerges. So there is a layer upon layer upon layer of morphogenetic fields and dimensional reality systems. I don't see any toroidal field. I wanted to define that about what a dimension is, so that you can think of it as a frequency band instead of when I say dimension. People think of it scientifically. What does that mean? It is the height, it is the width, it is the space, it is the depth, and actually what I'm referring to is a frequency band. Like in talking about the harmonics that are in the fourth dimension, which each of the 12 tones that comprise the entire dimensional structure. So try to think of a 15-dimensional time matrix of which we are evolving through at this time. And we are moving up through the harmonic tones of that vibration, and that is a part of our ascension process. And that's the end of our Ascension class. Again, the transcript was generously provided by A. Scoville. And I think it's time to close down this session. What do you think? No, you want more? Me too, I want more. But I think it's time to close this session, and we do that by reweave and reconnect. Say it with me. Say it out loud for all your body parts and energetic structures to listen to yourself as you say these words. Reweave and reconnect. Synchronize with light. Open all pathways of communication between the template bodies and the 12th dimensional body that allow communication and direct cognition with my Christ's spiritual family. We call upon all biological encodements of the Christ blueprint body, the Eucharist, the silicate matrix DNA template activations to install the transharmonic pillars of eternal living light source. Upgrade, download, recalibrate the etheric nadis, the electromagnetic battery body and the Ka body to the new spiritual link communication download connections. Activate all energy receivers in our divine light body. The apathy receivers to be activated as appropriate for our service mission. Reconnect and exiotonally align all of my etheric, exiotonal and meridial channels to the new Earth frequency hubs exiotonal lines in order of priority as necessary for my ascension. Align and open the handshake to the home soul frequency through my starseed identity matrices in the hubs. Recalibrate, synchronize and align my field to my monadic families and my star lineages. I ask now for any exiotonal line or etherical nadial upgrades needed now for the optimum functioning and comfort of my bioenergy field and for activating all spiritual links of communication that are outside the scope of my request or understanding. Download all cognitive upgrades needed for the clearest communication and comprehension of or translation or of language or light codes and that which serves our current spiritual mission, permanently, totally, and completely. I serve the law of one, and I am the cosmic sovereign law made manifest. I serve the law of one, and I am the cosmic sovereign law made manifest. I serve the law of one, and I am the cosmic sovereign law made manifest. I state my intention of sovereignty. I harmonize and hold this space in the name of the One Self, God Self. As witness to one, I seal my declaration into the light of union and wholeness in service to the One Self. Please take my agreements into completion through the outer levels, mind grid, DNA, karmic contract, core soul level, and beyond. Take this and record it through the morphogenetic field and subtle energy systems, all levels and components of our group being, fully, completely, totally, and permanently. Anchor, lock, and seal through the hologram. Anchor, lock, and seal through the time matrix. Beloved family, I thank you for this opportunity. I open to all processes required to align fully to my highest soul purposes. It is with great joy and reverence that I am home in the light. And so it is that I seal and end this request and prayer into the light of wholeness and union with one God Source. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been a pleasure to have you there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Remember, you are the love. Remember making the love. Remember sharing the love. Remember being the love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It has been a beautiful session, and I thank you very much for listening to the horizontal triad bodies and much more. I am Ra, the Yellow Crystal Warrior Kin 116, the Pathfinder. I'll see you in the dream world.